I pay homage to the Gautama who, moved by his compassion, taught in holy Dharma to rid us of all distorted views. So at the end of the Heart Sutra, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara having engaged in the dialogue. And then at the end, the Buddha said, he rejoices in their dialogue on emptiness. So as it is said in the Heart Sutra, the fact that the Buddha attained enlightenment is by relying on the perfection of wisdom. And so for all sentient beings across the expanse of space, for them too, those who assert that they have this potential to become a fully enlightened being, therefore it becomes this the perfection of wisdom teachings becomes the wisdom itself becomes the main path that leads that they should practice to attain highest attainment of Buddhahood. And so in order to please, so when we do our practices sincerely, then that would please the Buddha. So as I said yesterday also, the main offering that we can make to the Buddhas is our practice, the offering of our practice. And so engaging in the Dharma practices, and particularly if we could actually generate or cultivate and develop the bodhicitta, which combined with that of the understanding of emptiness, that would be the most, the greatest offering that we could make to the Buddhas. So the understanding of the view of emptiness and regarding this and the bodhicitta, it's difficult for us just to please the Buddhas or to have the experience merely by reciting certain lines and verses. So what we need to do is, in the beginning, and engage in the practice and study and meditation for years and years. Therefore, you need to engage in studying the text, reflect on them, and then meditate. And having gained conviction from the depth of your heart, you should go think and reflect over and over again, so that your whole day and night becomes imbued with this experience and the thought or reflection on emptiness and bodhicitta. And then you enter into the tantric practice. And so regarding the tantric practice, so regarding this, the term Vajrayana does not mean that you hold a Vajra in your hand and become a practitioner. That's not the meaning. But the Vajrayana means that you combine the wisdom and method aspects of the practice and make them inseparable from each other. And so with regard to the method and wisdom, of course, it is also taught in the Sutrayana as well. But in Tantra, these two, the principles of method and wisdom, are combined, and you have a union of this so that they are of the same nature. So there is a way of combining these two at a grosser level by using the gross states of mind, and then as you develop further and further, as we explained, we talked about the other days, we have the sensory perceptions, the 5 sensory perceptions, which are coarse consciousness, and then there is the mental consciousness, within which there are degrees of subtlety, and there is this subtlest, innermost subtle mind, which functions even after clinical death, when there is after the death of the brain, and so that subtle, innermost subtlest mind is the mind that goes into the Buddha state of Buddha or level of Buddhahood. As I said the other days, the Buddha taught the first turning, gave the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, and then he turned the second wheel of Dharma, and then the third turning of the wheel. And as part of the third turning, there is a sutra which is called a sutra given when the Buddha was about to pass away. So I have read that sutra. So even at the level of Buddhahood, there are the things which are phenomena which are composite. And so, as I explained the other day also, whether at the basis level or the path level or the resultant level of Buddhahood and enlightenment, whatever comes through, whatever is, nothing can come from without any causes. But we need to, everything has its course. And so we also talked about the unwavering condition, the potential condition, and the impermanent condition. And so with regard to the causes that lead to the composite phenomena in the at the level of Buddhahood, must come from some compatible, subtle causes. So the coarse levels of mind and body do not go into the level of Buddhahood. So in that sutra that I mentioned, Dakaishi, there is mention of a substantial cause which is in the aspect of a seed. So through tantric practice, what we do is we stop or make these coarse level of mind dysfunctional, and even stop them, and then we through the power of one's meditation, the practitioner makes this subtle, innermost subtle mind manifest. Although it becomes manifest at the time of death, ordinary death, but it's like being in a state of faint, not being able to use. But when you are able to use it through the power of your meditation, then this subtle, innate, clear mind and the wind energy accompanying it, by using the very special technique of Tantra, because we have that naturally, those two, the wind energy and the subtlest mind, and we are actually transforming that into the path. And so, because there is this basis for that, and we reach the highest attainment of the union of the Buddhahood. And before that, we actually passed through the union of a trainee level, and so this is possible because of this subtle wind and mind energy. And the ultimate path of the secret mantra Vajrayana must be understood as a technique for using this subtlest mind and wind energy into the path. So whatever compounded phenomena there is, they come through causes and conditions. So even in samsaric conditions, we come through causes and conditions, and that also is the case with the attainment of Buddhahood. It must come through causes and conditions. So with regard to the subtlest mind, the innate mind, in the Nyingma tradition, they talk about the 9 yanas, 9 vehicles. So there are 3 sets of 3 yanas. So during the first 3, the first set of 3 yanas is called Kotobrikjig Tekwa, which means the yana, like those of the Vedas, Vedic tradition, showing called going through austerity, and then you go into those of the inner tantras. So just as we also do make division within the Tantra into 4 classes, Kriya, Charya, Yoga, and Anuttara Yoga Tantras, here in the Nyingma tradition, they have the 3 outer Tantras, and which are Kriya, Upa, Yoga, and then the inner Tantras, which are the Maha, Anu, and Ati Yogas. So, which in this Mahanadi yogas, they use the innermost subtle minds by which the coarse levels of mind are stopped or dissolved. So, in the Adi Yoga, Mahanadi Yoga, and especially in the Adi Yoga system, it is said that all states of mind, whether diluted or undiluted, are permeated by the Rigpa, which is this primordial awareness. So, even while we are emotionally challenged, disturbed, and still an experienced meditator of the Adi Yoga is able to actually maintain or retain that perception or the experience of the pristine awareness nature of the mind. So according to these 9 yogas, 9 vehicles, the Shravakas, based on their practice on the 4 noble truths, and then when these 4 noble truths are explained in more detail, we have the 12 links of dependent origination, on the basis of which the Pratyeka Buddhas do their practice, and then the Bodhisattva Yana, those who have the Bodhisattva lineage do the practice on the basis of Bodhisattva Yana. So these are the 3 first vehicles. And when you do this Sutrayana practice, you meditate on emptiness, which is said to have the supreme aspect. And practices such as the six perfections, and particularly the wisdom, perfection of wisdom, is even there in the Sutrayana. So for the Dharmakaya, the means by which we could mainly serve others is that of the form body of a Buddha. It's not enough just to have the Dharmakaya, attain Dharmakaya, but we should attain the Buddha's form body. And therefore, in the Sutrayana, there is a very rough mention of the rough kind of course for that Buddha's form body. So, in the Sutrayana, the practitioners progress along the path and the grounds while staying absorbed in meditation on emptiness. And that leads to the Dharmakaya, but while doing the practice for Dharmakaya, we also need to create the courses for the form body as well. This is what the Tantras say. And therefore, there must be a compatible course for that form body of a Buddha, even during the path level. And so there are questions: why is there no substantial course in the Sutrayana for that form body? And so the mention in the sutra, which was given around the time of the Buddha's passing away, the mention of this the substantial cause, which is the aspect of a seed, that seems to point to that cause of the form body of a Buddha. So we need to actually think closely about this, the subtle mind in using that and developing that into the path must come through one's practice, the yogi or yogini's practice, and not just by understanding the path, because we are talking about in Tantra using the great bliss wisdom. And it's not just to say that great bliss is something very sacred, but the purpose of developing this great bliss experience is to actually develop the innate clear-light mind, make that manifest within oneself. And so through the development of this great bliss, the subtle innate clear-light mind becomes more and more manifest within yourself as the through this practice of the tantras, by using great bliss, your mind becomes subtler and subtler as you develop or as you make the clear light more and more manifest. And as the mind becomes subtler and subtler, it becomes also clearer and clearer as well. Whereas in the case of the form and formless realms, the mind becomes subtler and subtler, but then as the mind becomes subtler, it also becomes duller. And so at the time when you reach the peak of cyclic existence, which is the highest formless realm within the samsara, still the mind becomes very subtle, but then the subtler it gets, the more unclear it becomes. Whereas through the highest yoga tantra practice, as your great bliss increases, the subtle mind becomes more and more powerful and clearer. And therefore, you can see the significance of talking in Tantra about using sensual experiences. So otherwise, when you see the tantric deities in union and so forth, it might make you laugh. So it is said in the Tantra that at the resultant state, you have those of the two kayas, the two Buddha bodies, which are Dharmakaya and Rupakaya, the form body, and so in the Guhyasamaja Tantra, it mentions there of illusory body, so within which there is the impure and pure illusory bodies that you attain. And Tantra, in Kalachakra Tantra, there is mention of the attaining the Mahamudra, or the rainbow body, and so if you actually understand the main parts of the practice of highest yoga tantra, then the tantric practice would make sense. So when I think about the Dzogchen practice, where there's they make distinction between the ordinary deluded mind and Rigpa. It actually gives me and helps me to understand the tantras of the New Translation School as well, and then from the New Translation School also the understanding of the subtlety within the mind and the division of subtlety and so forth. It helps to understand the Nyingma tradition better. So there's blessing for the tea. I forgot my mug. No, I don't like. 미리 느껴야 돼. 미리 디스트랙션 지도. 줘야 재미다 미리. He's a distraction to me. Lama, don't say. Dito, the mid this dito. In Tibetan society, there's a prevalent, it's quite prevalent to do the Nyungne or fasting practice based on the rituals related with Avalokiteshvara. So usually when we hear about Tantra, the Tantric teachings, we get the notion of doing some deity yoga practice and recitation of mantras. Of course, you cannot just think by using this kind of ordinary mind that we usually use and think that, oh, I'm a deity and so forth. Of the 4 Tantra sets or classes, the first one is the Kriya Tantra, the and so in the Nyingma tradition, they use the term Katobrik Jagatekwa, which means the vehicle of the Vedic vehicle of austerity, where which refers to emphasizing the external practices such as cleanliness and so forth. And in the Ngagrim Chemo, the great treatise on the mantra path, Jerimbuchi mentions this, that the Kriya Tantra emphasizes the external practices. And then he also mentions the 8 physical postures, holding the body straight, the spine straight, and when you do that, the flow of energy within the channels also is better. Otherwise, if you lean to the right or left and so forth, the different emotions or different thoughts processes actually become very active. So you put your body straight, with either half cross-legged or full cross-legged. And then the hands, with regard to the hands, the right hand is put on the top of the left palm. And then you put the 2 thumbs, the tip of the 2 thumbs touch each other, and then this is actually held at just the level of your navel, the solar plexus, which has the significance of, later on in the higher tantras, to generate the significance of symbolizing the generation of the heat, mystic heat. And so you should hold your spine straight, spinal, and hold your teeth and the lips naturally, and the tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate. This has its own significance, because when you actually are able to go into absorption, meditative absorption for quite a long time, if your mouth is open, what happens is it could lead to dry throat because of breathing heavily or strongly through the mouth. And so touch the tip of the tongue on your to your upper palate, and then the head should slightly bend forward, and then the two shoulders should be held straight, and you should not breathe strongly where you make noise, but just breathe naturally, slowly. But sometimes you can do the 9 rounds of breathing. And also engage in the practice of cleaning your body, washing and so forth. And having washed your body, cleaned yourself, then you sit in a meditation. When you do that, it's more comfortable. You feel more comfortable in sitting meditation. And then so in the Kriya Yoga Tantra, there are 6 deities. The deity of emptiness, which is meditation on emptiness. So just as you, yesterday, the last days we talked about meditating on emptiness, on oneself. So similarly, you should meditate on the deity. That by using these lines from the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, which says the Tathagata, which actually refers to the Tathagata not being the aggregates nor separate from aggregates and so forth. So you can also use this reason in relation to Avalokiteshvara, saying Avalokiteshvara is neither his aggregates nor separate from them and so forth. And so, as the basis of your meditation on emptiness, you actually focus on yourself as well as the deity. So within the nature of emptiness, you and the deity are of the same. With regard to the emptiness, there is no difference of subtlety. Therefore, you are of same one taste with the deity's emptiness. And so, based on the meditation on emptiness, then you rise into a deity. So there is that. And then you meditate on the deity of the sound, which refers to the mantra of the deity. And as then you imagine hearing the sound of this mantra of the deity. And the mantra is placed then on the cushion, moon cushion, which is the deity of letters. And then you meditate on radiation of light, and then drawing it back into yourself. So with that, you make offerings to the Buddhas and Tathagatas, and then also make practice generosity towards sentient beings. And then you rise into the deity. And then, having arisen into the deity, you invite that of the you actually seal your three places, heart, throat, and crown, with this gesture, the mudra of the deity. So in other tantras, the term that is used is the deity arising from the perception of the perceived object of the emptiness. So you first meditate on emptiness as best you can, and then from within that emptiness, as you come across in the sadhanas, the manuals for practice, while you perceive or realize emptiness, without losing sight of emptiness, then you arise into the deities or the mantras and the six deities of the Kriya Yoga, Kriya Tantra, and or you could, in other called sadhanas, you may go through the process of arising into the deity by going through the three processes of called arising into the symbol, the seed syllable, then transforming into the symbol of the deity, and then finally transforming into the deity. And then once you arise into the deity, you actually should be able to see yourself like an illusion. You should have this appearance of the deity within this understanding that it is like an illusion. And then, in order to, for the purpose of accumulating merit and wisdom and so forth, then you make offerings. And when you do meditative recitation of the mantras, you should still hold and have a clear vision of yourself as the deity. So while having the clear vision of yourself as the deity, when you're able to do that well, then as you come across, or whenever you say I, or you come across the term I in the sadhanas, you would also have this perception of yourself as the deity arisen from the state of emptiness. And so you should be able to have the divine pride as well as the clear appearance of yourself as the deity. So there is a question raised: how does the deity yoga, by meditating on yourself as a deity, actually serve as, how does it counter your ignorance? And the answer that is given is that it will overcome this ignorance, because you are visualizing yourself, transforming yourself into a deity from within the meditation on emptiness. And so these two, the conventional generation stage and the ultimate generation stage, must go together, hand in hand. You cannot divorce these two. You cannot divorce the meditation on emptiness from the visualization of the deity. And then it will be difficult to overcome the negative emotions. So from Yoga Tantra upwards, there is the tantric vows that you can take. And in the precepts of the highest, these tantras, where you take the tantric vows, if you don't meditate on emptiness on a daily basis, that is actually an infraction the root infraction of a Tantra. So this is not something which is mentioned in the Sutrayana. Otherwise, regarding some practices such as the mystic heat and doing meditation using the chakras and then transference of consciousness and so forth, these are even done by the non-Buddhist. I have once met a meditator, non-Buddhist meditator in Gorakhpur, and they do have this practice of the tumo, the mystic inner fire. And then they also seem to have the practice of projecting the mind out of the body and transferring it into another body. And then the recitation of mantra also is there in the non-Buddhist traditions. So in Chile once when I visited there, in the hotel, they have actually hung on the walls some tanka painting with the chakras drawn on the body of the deity, and also the three channels. And so maybe the owners of the hotel thought this is something relevant to me. But then when I saw it, I had the suspicion whether this is the Hindu called tantric deity or what. Kundal Lama Rinpoche once told me that in Buddhism, so I asked this question actually to Guru Lama Rinpoche: how do we differentiate between the Buddhist and non-Buddhist tantras? So when we look at the celestial mansion of a deity, the different parts of the celestial mansion, such as the four pillars and so forth, are actually said to have the symbolism for those of the 37 factors of enlightenment and so forth. So we have to actually see whether these symbolisms are there or not. And then when you do the meditation of a deity or mandalas, you do so within the understanding that things have no independent self-existence. So in Tibet, of course, Buddhism and particular Tantra spread widely, the length and breadth, but then whether the practice of Tantra actually is turned into the practice of Tantra or not must be delineated on the basis of understanding of emptiness, and then doing the deity yoga practice. That is a Buddhist practice. So the Tibetan great masters, the scholar and practitioners, have said that the profundity of Tantra is thanks to the Sutrayana, just as the deliciousness of Tibetan tea is because of its the butter. So unless you are able to actually build up some basis of a foundation within yourself for doing tantric practice, after having studied the Sutrayana, the tantric practice may not make much sense. Otherwise, you just feel you are the Vajradhara and so forth without really being able to do these tantric practices correctly. So in the first chapter of the mantra, stages of the mantra, Rinpoche says, oh, the intelligent ones train in this rational mind and then find full conviction, firm conviction in the key practices of Buddhism or the teaching. And then, as I quoted yesterday, Rinpoche says in the Lamrim Chemo, the great stages of the path to enlightenment, so Rinpoche says that one should be able to differentiate between the different scriptures. And so how do we do that? Is by using a rational mind. And so train your mind to build intelligence by using rational mind. Train your and so that you won't be actually you won't be carried away by the arguments of your opponents, and thereby find a firm conviction in the teaching. And so you should be able to use reason and logics to gain firm conviction in the teaching, so that no other opponent, none of your opponents can actually lead you astray. So otherwise you will just base yourself on faith alone, saying, oh, I take refuge in the three jewels and so forth. So in Ladakh, an old friend of mine, to him I said, we are actually friendly with each other, and so you have so much devotion and faith, but your devotion is more or less a blind faith, I told them. They always say chakchal, chakchal, and so I told them, so they use the term, expression Tamche Khenpa Khen, referring to His Holiness, saying, you would know, or the omniscient one, you would know. So this is literally. And so I actually said the same thing to them. So of course, all the religious traditions are great. We must respect them. They are worthy of respect because of their benefits to so many people. And so Christianity, Hinduism, and so forth. All religious traditions, if the practitioners, followers are sincerely, they do sincere practice, all these religious traditions have good messages for everyone. But using rational mind or reasoning is only emphasized in Buddhism, and particularly the Nalanda tradition. And so, with this tradition that we have, we are able to, the Nalanda tradition, we are able to have discussions with scientists. We can learn from them as well as the scientists can learn from us. And therefore, Rinpoche says, oh, the intelligent ones train in the eye of reasoning and make yourselves firm in conviction in the teaching, so that you are not led astray by opponents. And then, in the 400 verses, as I quoted, the disciples should have these three criteria of being unbiased and intelligent, as well as aspiring to the path. And so this is the general, talking about the general structure of the teaching of the Buddha. And so, the main lineage within this Kriya Tantra of the three lineages is that of the Tathagata lineage. And then the Lotus lineage is the intermediate, And then in the lowest lineage is the Vajra lineage. And regarding the Chandrisic, the Avalokiteshvara, he belongs to the lotus lineage. And the initiation that we are going to do comes from or through the Gelongma or Bhikshuni Lakshmi. So with regard to Tantra, one of the Tibetan masters has made this distinction between the general structure of Buddhism and then teachings specifically tailored for specific disciples. So the Sutrayanas and then texts such as Mula Madhyamaka Karika and so forth are, have to do with the first set of the teachings, the general structure, whereas in Tantra, due to the different mental dispositions of the practitioners, the different deities appear to them, and then the instructions have come to them, and those instructions should also be checked whether they actually accord with the general structure of the teaching of the Buddha or not. So even if you may talk about certain instructions being tantric, but then if it actually goes against, if it's not in accord with the general structure of the Buddha's teaching, and particularly we should actually check those teachings with the teachings, the general structure teachings of the Buddha and the Master Nagarjuna and so forth. And so if they go against it, we should avoid. If they are in accord with the general structure of the teaching and the general treatises or exegetical texts, and then there is also some profundity and specialty in relation to tantric practice, we should actually accept them. And so this initiation comes down from Bhikshuni Lakshmi, and many great Indian masters, based on this practice of Avalokiteshvara, have developed bodhicitta and understanding of emptiness and reached very high realizations. And Tibet is said to be a land of Avalokiteshvara, land to be tamed by Avalokiteshvara. And so on the basis of doing Avalokiteshvara practice, many Tibetan masters have actually been able to develop great realizations of bodhicitta and so forth. And on the basis of having this experience of bodhicitta, people have, masters have actually been able to do meditation on emptiness and do the recitation of mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and were able to reach high levels of realization. So when you, in connection with the meditation on compassion and bodhicitta, if you could also do the deity yoga practice on Avalokiteshvara, it will help you to develop bodhicitta and compassion where you, if you don't have them yet, and it will enhance your experiences of them if you already have them. And so bodhicitta actually looks at all sentient beings as one's friends and relatives. And so we make this prayer that may all the negativities of others ripen upon me, and may the goodness in me ripen upon others. But here, in connection with this maybe due to some purpose or significance, we need to do this visualization of getting rid of or driving away evil spirits when we do this kind of ritual. Although we cannot actually have evil spirits or harming beings who harm us out there, but your own negative emotions are your main enemies. So we pray that may all the negativities of others ripen upon me, and may all good positive things in me ripen upon them. And so while saying this, if we actually think about some kind of evil spirit or some beings who harm us out there, it doesn't seem right to think like that. So in the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, today, in the presence of the protectors, I invite the world to my guests, and at the festival of temporary and ultimate delight, may gods, demigods, and all be joyful. So, since we make this prayer that may all my positive energies ripen upon others, and so we cannot think others about, we cannot think so much about others as being our enemies and adversaries and so forth, and those who harm us. And one time in Tibet, one Kadamba master was invited by a village to overcome some evil spirits. And when the evil spirits actually encountered that practitioner, the evil spirits actually have, there is this story that the evil spirits talked amongst themselves, oh, how can we actually harm this person, because this person only thinks of benefiting all beings, including us. And so what we should do in order to avoid having any harm from others, we should hold others to be dearer than ourselves and give up our selfishness. And so, in any case, I'm going to perform this ritual of driving away the evil beings who might otherwise hinder this practice of the initiation. So His Holiness was earlier talking about in certain long life initiation, there is mention of some beings actually snatching away your lifespan. And regarding that, you actually are, during the initiation process of the long life initiation, you are actually told that those are actually recovered. And so instead of thinking that they are snatched away, we could, if you are altruistic, you would actually think of gladly to actually give whatever you have to others, even the evil spirits, to benefit them. As we talked about in the last days, someone who takes the initiation, it is said in this tantra, the person to whom this initiation is given should comprise the 4 Sangha members, which are the Bhikshu, Bhikshunis, and then the laypersons with vows, the male and female. So those of the lay people, if you could take the layperson's vows, it would be better on the basis of that to take the tantric initiation. It is not an obligation for you to take the layperson's vows. The main layperson with vow, the principal one is the one who keeps celibacy. But here we are going to do the layperson with all the 5 vows without celibacy. So what you actually keep away from are killing, taking what has not been given, or stealing, and sexual misconduct, and then telling a grave lie and not drinking. Not telling a grave lie and not drinking alcohol. So even if you don't take any vows, if you kill someone, a human being, you would land in prison. And also, you would land in jail if you steal other people's possessions. And similarly, in the case of rape and lying, you would have the consequences. And then here it is the problem, the challenge here for lay people may be drinking alcohol. The Buddha has said that those who consider me as their teacher should or must not take even a drop of alcohol at the tip of, as small as a drop at the tip of a blade of grass. And so this is actually a preventive measure, because once you take to drinking, then when you get drunk, all kinds of negative activities or actions ensue from there. So once Lingam Rinpoche told me that yesterday one elderly Tibetan man came to me and took the 5 precepts of a layperson, and then when I explained about the precepts, explained those precepts, and when I came to explaining about alcohol, not taking alcohol, the person immediately told me, "Oh, I cannot give this up." And then Lingam Rinpoche very kindly told him in that case, don't drink to the point of getting drunk. So in your case also here, the best is not to drink alcohol. But if you do take alcohol, don't drink to the point of getting drunk. Because if you use your money for alcohol, for drinking alcohol, then your resources will be depleted, and then it will also be harmful to your health as well, because there are people whose liver are affected because of drinking alcohol too much. And so even if you don't think about Dharma or anything like that, think about your money and not depleting your money, and also not ruining your health, and don't drink. So those of you who wish to take the layperson's vows, please touch your folded hands, put your palms together with the thumbs inside, bent inside, and put your folded hands 3 times each on your crown, throat, and heart. Make 3 prostrations to the Buddha, and then make 3 prostrations to me as well, from whom you are receiving this layperson's vows. So please kneel on your right knee. So I will say in Tibetan, but the meaning that of these lines is that I wish to become a layperson with vows, an upasaka for male and upasaki for female, and that has to be done on the basis of having taken refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So the actual object of refuge is the true cessation that one actualizes through the true path. And so this is the true refuge, and the Buddha is the teacher, and then the Sangha our assistants on the path. And so you take refuge. Think of taking refuge in the true cessation, and then the Buddha who taught this, and then the Sangha who helps us on the path. You take refuge in these 3. Even if you may not be confident to keep all 5 of these precepts, you may decide to keep 4 or 3 or 2 or even 1. Master, please pay attention to me. Please repeat. I, known by this name, from this time on, as long as I'm alive, seek refuge in the Buddhas, the best of bipeds. I seek refuge in the Dharma, the best of freedom from attachment. I seek refuge in the Sangha, the best of congregations. Master, please consider me as a devout lay follower until my death. It's on page 9, the text. Master, please pay attention to me. I, known by this name, from this time on, as long as I am alive, seek refuge in the Buddha, the best of bipeds. I seek refuge in the Dharma, the best of freedom from attachment. I seek refuge in the Sangha, the best of congregations. Master, please consider me as a devout lay follower until my death. Master, please pay attention to me. I, known by this name, from this time on, as long as I am alive, I seek refuge in the Buddha, the best of bipeds. I seek refuge in the Dharma, the best of freedom from attachment. I seek refuge in the Sangha, the best of congregations. Master, please consider me as a devout lay follower until my death. So please consider yourself as, feel convinced that you have, please sit down. You have received the layperson's vows. I will not explain the 5 precepts in detail. So what you should think is that just as the past masters, the arhats and so forth, have taken this layperson's vows and kept them purely and became enlightened, likewise I will do so. And then having created the 4 Sangha members, then the next is taking or generating the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta. So we are going to go through the ceremony for mind of enlightenment on page 11, or whichever text His Holiness uses. So the next point in this is correcting your motivation. So whether your Dharma practice becomes a true Dharma practice or not depends on this motivation. The motivation such as not thinking only about this life but the next life, and also the motivation of reaching enlightenment or liberation, and then the motivation of bodhicitta. So with bodhicitta, you make the Mahayana teaching, Mahayana as a Mahayana practice, and then when you combine the method and wisdom in one as one entity, that becomes a tantric practice. So in taking part in the initiation, you should not think that with this initiation I will have long life, less sickness, and good health, and so forth, and wealth, and so forth. This is the wrong view, wrong motivation in connection with this. Nor should you have the motivation to reach mere liberation for your sake alone, but you should think of reaching, helping all sentient beings across the expanse of space, and think of becoming enlightened for the sake of sentient beings. In other words, have the motivation of bodhicitta. So if you have the motivation to reach enlightenment or omniscient state of Buddhahood, you'll be able to reach the goal of overcoming, having overcome the goal where you have overcome all the negative emotions as well as overcoming all the obstacles. Whereas if your goal is small, then the great fruit, the vast fruit you will not be accomplish it. Whereas if you think about reaching the vast goal of omniscience, then you will be able to fulfill the rest of the experiences. And next is the disciples arising into the deity. So here, by meditating on emptiness, you will actually stop all other conceptual thinking, and from within that emptiness you arise into a deity. Of course, there are those of the external obstacles, but the main obstacle is within yourself, which are those of the series of conceptual thoughts, the discursive conceptual thoughts, as well as particularly grasping at some true existence and things. So that with the sprinkling of this water, imagine these conceptions are dispelled, and meditate on emptiness, which we have talked about in the last 3 days. Think about yourself. When you think about I am a Thai, or I am a Malaysian, or from any country, when you don't do any analysis into this, it seems the I exists. But when you do, when you analyze the self, you will not be able to find it, and so have that conviction that the self does not have any existence independently, objectively. Because if it has any independent objective existence, then it should be found by the meditative absorption of an Arya being's mind, which is absorbed in emptiness. But when you do search for yourself, nothing can be found as being you from amongst the aggregates. So when you actually check whether things have some objective existence or not, you will find that there is nothing there. But conventionally, when we accept things in convention, then we can actually easily talk about this or that thing. And but what happens because of our ignorance is that things do appear to have some objective independent existence. Yet, from your logical mind, you'll be able to confirm that this is not true, and therefore things do not have any objective existence whatever. And so even with regard to Avalokiteshvara, you will not be able to find anything that you can point to as being Avalokiteshvara. And so meditate on emptiness and then may transform yourself into Avalokiteshvara within that meditation. And next, so you are in the form of Avalokiteshvara at the eastern door, outside the eastern door of the mandala of Avalokiteshvara. Please repeat this. Oh, great bliss, you are my teacher, so Master, please pay attention to me. The firm way of great enlightenment I beg, O great protector, please grant me the pledges, the spirit of enlightenment, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. Next is fostering the firm conviction in Tantrayana. And so what this says is that the disciples must have a firm belief and conviction in the Tantrayana, and that also must come through reason and not just blind faith, as I mentioned earlier. So so masters like Saraha and Nagarjuna, who were renowned scholar adepts, practiced Tantra themselves and then also shared the teaching with their disciples. Although we do not have the realizations yet, but there have been, we should actually think of those great beings who have been able to perform a great deal, do a great deal for the Dharma and beings through the practice of Tantra, and so have firm conviction in Tantra. Come here, my child, I will correctly teach you the ritual of contact for the Mahayana secret mantra. You are a great and suitable vessel, possessing the Vajra body, speech, and mind. All Buddhas of the 3 times found the perfect, unequaled, exalted wisdom through the power of Vajra mantra. The lion of Chakyas and the other supreme ones use the unparalleled practices of the secret mantra to destroy the hordes of incredible, powerful evils and of knowing the world. What next is taking the Bodhisattva vow, but here we are going to do the generation of bodhicitta, not Bodhisattva vows as such. So in precious Garland, so in Verse number 483 down, page 104 in English. Verse 483, may I always be an object of enjoyment for all beings according to their wish and without interference, as the earth, water, fire, wind, and so forth. So we have different verses that could be used for generating bodhicitta. So I think it would be okay to use these lines. Please kneel on your right knee and recite this. Sum sum sa tiji sum. Tiji sum ra. 83, 484, and 485. These three verses. May I always be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings according to their wish and without interference, as are the earth, water, fire, wind, herbs, and wild forests. May I be as dear to sentient beings as their own life, and may they be even more dear to me. May their ill deeds fructify for me, and all my virtues fructify for them, as long as a sentient being anywhere has not been liberated. May I remain in the world for the sake of that being, though I have attained highest enlightenment. Say it for a second time. May I always be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings according to their wish and without interference, as the earth, water, fire, wind, herbs, and forests. May I be as dear to sentient beings as their own life, and may they even be more dear to me. May their ill deeds fructify for me, and may all my virtues fructify for them. As long as any sentient being anywhere has not been liberated, may I remain in the world for the sake of that being, though I have attained highest enlightenment. May I always be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings according to their wish and without interference, as are the earth, water, fire, wind, herbs, and wild forests. May I be dear to sentient beings as their own life, and may they be even more dear to me. May their ill deeds fructify for me, and may all my virtues fructify for them. As long as any sentient being anywhere has not been liberated, may I remain in the world for the sake of that being, though I have attained the highest enlightenment. Please sit down. So this actually gives great courage to work for others, so to serve others. So this earth, water, and so forth are things which are to be enjoyed by all sentient beings, and so you dedicate yourself for others' enjoyment, whatever merits. So you actually pray that the negative karmas and the suffering of other sentient beings fructify for you, and all your virtues ripen upon them. So it actually makes me feel fortunate. So because we have the text in our hands, I actually thought to use these verses for bodhicitta, which comes from the hands of Master Nagarjuna himself. And next, so from now on, we should be good persons, not to deceive others, not to be dishonest with others, not to bully others, and harm others. So for these few days, the purpose of our gathering and receiving these teachings is to become good persons. And so that's about generating bodhicitta. And next is blessing the 3 places of the disciples. So on your crown, throat, and heart, there are these 3 syllables, beginning with the heart. Hum on a sun disk, and Ah on a moon disk, and then Om on your crown on a moon disk. So on the basis of the clear light mind, this innate clear light mind, and the wind energy, which is its mount, we develop the subtle body, subtle mind, and subtle body and speech of the resultant stage, and reach Buddhahood. And so, for that reason, the these 3, body, speech, and mind, are being blessed. So, the term for blessing in Tibetan is Chin Lab. So Chin has the meaning of magnificence or splendor, and then Lab means transformation, transforming. So with this blessing, your body, speech, and mind are transformed into the magnificent body, speech, and mind of the deity at the resultant stage. And so, with that understanding, receive the blessings. So before your body, speech, and mind were blessed, you have attachment or anger and so forth when you see different objects of senses. Now, having been blessed, your body, speech, and mind been blessed. Whatever objects of senses appear to you, the sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, you should be able to bring up this understanding that everything do appear, though they do appear to have some objective independent existence, yet they do not have that way of existence, and they are like illusion. So you should be able to see these offerings in that fashion of seeing them as like illusion. So since we are doing the preliminary process of initiation and the actual initiation in one stretch, we will not go through certain, some of these parts of the initiation, the preliminary process. And so you'll be given a handful of blessed water, and the mantra for this So since everything is pure of any intrinsic existence, therefore, through this water, it is said that may the negativities or sins be cleansed. So because our sins or non-virtuous actions come through causes and conditions, but if you actually understand the real nature, the true nature of the non-virtuous actions, you'll be able to overcome them, and therefore that is done through the practice of meditation on emptiness. And next you'll be given a blessed string. So each person will get one string, blessed string each. So this should be, ideally it should be worn on your left arm. And sometimes because of your sleeves, I mean you call removing your shirt, while removing your shirt and so forth, this can slip out. So rather than wearing on your left arm, you can put it and keep it safe in your pocket or your purse. And next is making the disciples feel delighted by giving teaching that you have found this human life, and then even because as humans you are the ones who have met with the teaching of the Buddha, and therefore you should feel fortunate to have been able to meet with this teaching, having this opportunity to in practice. You should make it meaningful by doing things which are beneficial to others and having altruistic attitude and meditating on emptiness and so forth. Next is the actual initiation. For that we make mandala offering. Please repeat these lines of request. It will not take much time. Do you think we need a break here?
You want short break? No. Okay. Okay, then okay. You can drink. Can you drink tea? Okay. Please enjoy tea. If anyone who lives of danger, then don't drink tea.
What danger? Wedding.
Oh yeah.
So just like before, you are going to make this request. Imagine the Lama, who is not different from the main deity of the mandala. The mandala has in the center four-petaled lotus, and in the center of that lotus is a throne on which is Avalokiteshvara, and so in the center is Avalokiteshvara, who belongs to the Amitabha lineage. And so you have these deities on the four lotus. Please repeat this request. O great bliss, you are my teacher. O master, please pay attention to me. The firm way of great enlightenment I beg. O great protector, please grant me the pledges, the spirit of enlightenment, the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. So since you are not allowed to see the secret aspect of the secrecy of the mandala, you are given this blindfold. Please put on the blindfold. So when you have the opportunity to see the deity, you'll be making offering of the flowers, a garland of flowers. So please imagine you are given a garland of flower, and keep that for some time. As I said before, so we can now use the lotus lineage mudra. Put your hands together, palms together, and then spread it out. And spread out. So this is called the lotus lineage mudra. Please repeat this. Om Padma Ubhavaya Swaha. So you have imagined yourself arisen into Avalokiteshvara with one face and two hands. Imagine at your heart Hum syllable, A at your throat, and Om on your crown. So representing your heart, your mind, speech and body. And so these three letters emit light, and your body, speech and mind becomes clear to you. So earlier you have pledged that you will remain until all sentient beings are liberated. And so you have made that pledge. So in order to be able to engage in the true practices, truly in the practices of bodhisattvas, to be able to fulfill that goal, you should engage in the bodhisattva practices. So until the end of space, you determine that you will do practically to benefit other sentient beings. So when you are happy, think like that, and do not forget this attitude when you have problems. Feel determined to persevere in your practice of helping others, sentient beings. And so with that determination, you will engage in the bodhisattva practices, the precepts that are to be kept, and you will not pledge not to go against any of the bodhisattva practices and the precepts. And so having taken the bodhisattva vows, you keep from the 8 root downfalls and then 46 secondary infractions. So the most important thing in keeping the bodhisattva vows is to restrain self-cherishing attitude. Because if you can do that well, then you will not praise yourself, despise others, and give up the Mahayana and despise, take those offerings given to the 3 jewels and so forth, and you will not have wrong view. And disrobe, called monastics and so forth. As we already made this pledge, may I always be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings, godly their wish and without interference, as are the earth, water, fire, winds, and wild forests. May I be dear to sentient beings as the as dear as their own life, and may they be even more dear to me. And so if you think along these lines, you will never, most probably not have any self-cherishing attitude. And then with regard to the 46 infractions, minor, secondary infractions, so if you, in order to be able to keep these vows well, if you could study the 20 verses of Bodhisattva precepts by Chandra Gomi, it would be very good. So by making the pledge that you will engage in the Bodhisattva practices as well as you can, so we have the text on page 12 in the book. So the first 4 lines show us taking refuge, confessing our misdeeds, and rejoicing in the virtues of all beings, and then thinking of becoming enlightened. And so if you wish to accomplish your own interests or goals, as well as others, there's no greater practice than bodhicitta. And so, bodhicitta is that factor which would bring all kinds of fulfillment of all goals for oneself and others. And so, once you dedicate yourself to work for all other sentient beings, of course, because of their attitudes, you may call someone, some beings your adversaries or enemies, and others your friends and relatives and so forth. But, so there may be cases to regard beings like that. So when I was talking about enemies, this mic also, there was this loud noise. So all sentient beings are equal in not wanting suffering but wanting happiness like yourself. And relatively speaking, we are like someone with a tall one amongst dwarfs, as the Tibetan saying goes. Someone who may be a part of the dwarfs, but then amongst the dwarfs, someone who looks better, who has better figures and taller. So most people do not actually consider the negative emotions something as shortcomings, but for us, we should recognize that the main enemy is within ourselves, these poisons of negative emotions. So Kadamba Masters have said that even though you are trampled by negative emotions, you should still muster up the courage to go against them. So do our best. So we do that in a way. And therefore, even though we are full of negative emotions, we still have this courage to generate bodhicitta and engage in the bodhisattva practices. And therefore, we are someone who is tall amongst the dwarfs. And so, self-cherishing attitude is the one factor which has actually caused us so much misfortune, suffering, and so forth. And this, together with the grasping at true existence, has caused us suffering. And even though we want happiness, we have not been able to fulfill that goal. And even though we don't want suffering, we have been overcome with suffering. And so from now, I will think of benefiting all others. And in order to do that, I will engage in the Bodhisattva practices to benefit all sentient beings across the expanse of space. So to fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. And so we'll just repeat. Please kneel on your right knee, and we'll do the repetition of one verse, the first verse. Please repeat. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtuous deeds of all beings. I take to my mind Buddha's enlightenment. Maybe we should go through the rest of the lines. To the Buddha, Dharma, and the highest assembly, I seek refuge until I reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delightful supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Repeat for a second. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtuous deeds of all beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha, Dharma, and highest assembly, I seek refuge until enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate the mind for awakening. Having generated the mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guest. I shall engage in the delighting supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. At the end of the third repetition now, when you say, may I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings, please feel convinced that you have received a complete, pure and complete set of Bodhisattva vows. I do engage in the Bodhisattva practices on a daily basis. I have Bodhisattva vows within my mind stream. And so just imagine this thing, that the same kind of Bodhisattva vows, set of Bodhisattva vows I have, you have received. And then the masters, the Nagarjuna and all great masters of the past, the scholar adepts who also were dedicated for the sentient beings. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all misdeeds individually. I rejoice in the virtuous deeds of all beings. I take to mind Buddha's enlightenment. To the Buddha, Dharma, and highest assembly, I seek refuge until and reach enlightenment. To fulfill the interests of oneself and others, I shall generate mind for awakening. Having generated the highest mind for highest awakening, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I shall engage in the delighting supreme practices of enlightenment. May I attain Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Please sit down. As Shantideva says, if you do not exchange your happiness and joy with the suffering of others, leave alone attaining Buddhahood, even in samsara you will not have happiness. So far, if you look in the world, because of thinking of having victory for oneself and defeating others, we cause how much problems and troubles are caused. So we're not talking about dharma or religion or God, the three jewels and so forth. This is something we can see with our own eyes. And therefore, Shantideva says this verse very decisively, saying that there's not going to be happiness in samsara, leave alone Buddhahood, if you don't exchange your happiness and joy with the suffering of others. you should not feel discouraged thinking of helping others, because altruism is the one factor that brings happiness in the long term and the short term, and your own happiness as well as others, and health and peace of mind. And therefore, Shantideva says, which intelligent person will feel despair or discouraged to ride the horse of bodhicitta, which leads from bliss to bliss. Of course, in the past, I also used to actually feel that bodhicitta, when I think about bodhicitta, don't have that kind of a courage. But after receiving teaching on Bodhisattvacharya Avatara from Kunalama Rinpoche Tenzin Gyaltsen, it has really made a big difference in me. And so bodhicitta is the root cause or the fundamental source of happiness and joy, and therefore the verse. Next is generating the yoga mind, or the universal yoga mind. So we have the two factors or causes for the Buddhas, Rupakaya, the form body, and the Dharmakaya, which is shared with the Sutrayana as well. So as I explained, the purpose of our life is to serve others, and therefore cherishing others is my fundamental main practice, because of bringing the short-term as well as long-term benefit to others. So please have this determination to bodhicitta, generate helping all sentient beings. So please...
Not thoughtlessness. Use our mind effectively.
To generate bodhicitta within yourself. So with this courage and determination,
willpower, that now transform.
This bodhicitta now transforms.
The moon disk,
You don't have to think about the moon in the sky, but the moon up in the sky is spherical, but here you are just imagining a flat disk moon in that shape. So otherwise, if you have to think about spherical moon, it would just roll here and there. So having done that, next we should meditate on emptiness. Everything in samsara nirvana are merely designated, and the mind itself does not have any essence, and therefore emaho, this nature of the things and reality of things. The seventh Dalai Lama says, in this space of emptiness, everything, diversity of things appear, but everything dissolves back into the diversities of things, dissolves back into this space of emptiness. When you do analysis of the diversity of things, bad, good, this or that, which gives rise to all kinds of conceptuality, everything, when analyzed, dissolves into this emptiness, empty space, just as the clouds dissipate into this empty space. So accordingly, you have to think about emptiness. And then, even in worldly terms, and in reality, nothing exists as this or that, one or many. If you do analyze things through this sevenfold reasoning, for example, a chariot is designated on the basis of its parts. And so the yogis fix their mind on that reality of the ultimate reality of things, emptiness. In other words, everything comes through causes and conditions. And though they appear to have some objective independent existence to us, yet they do not have that way of existing. And this wisdom, realizing emptiness, now transforms into a vajra, a white in color, five-spoked vajra, standing on the moon disk that you have imagined earlier. So the resultant goal that we seek, Avalokiteshvara, state of Avalokiteshvara, so you think that the bodhicitta, two bodhicittas, the conventional and ultimate bodhicitta that is in Avalokiteshvara at the resultant stage is also here now. So please repeat this. Om Sarva Yoga Chitta Upatayami. Om Sarva Yoga Chitta Upatayami. Om Sarva Yoga Chitta Upatayami. You have made pledge to keep these two bodhicittas firmly within yourself. So having made that pledge, from this day, you should do meditation on bodhicitta. Remind yourself of these two bodhicittas, the conventional and ultimate bodhicittas, on a daily basis. Just as you have imagined the moon disk and the white five-spoked vajra standing on it, at your heart think that there is a similar moon disk and five-spoked vajra, white vajra, are at the heart of the guru deity. And from this Guru deity's moon disk and the moon and the vajra comes forth the duplicates of these two, and they dissolve into the moon and the vajra at your heart, thereby stabilizing the moon and the vajra, five-spoked vajra at your heart, the two bodhicittas, in other words. So please imagine duplicates of this moon disk, and the vajra at the heart of the guru comes forth and dissolves into you, your moon disk and the vajra, and thereby stabilizing these two bodhicittas in you until you reach the final goal of enlightenment, of Buddhahood. So feel that you have now become fortunate with this blessing, and which stabilizes the two bodhicittas so that they may not decline. So having taken the initiation which you would be taking part in, you should not go back to your home and tell people that, oh, I have received this initiation of Avalokiteshvara from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So you should not disclose the secrecy of Tantra, in other words, to others. So now the eastern door is opened, and imagine that you are led into the mandala. Inside the mandala, you are inside the mandala, and you make 3 rounds to the deities. Please repeat this: Maharata, Sundinda, Suzuku, Suzuku, Benjasado, Adisidema, Maharata, Sundinda, Sudoku, Suzuku, Benjasado, Adisidema, Maharata, Sundinda, Sudoku, Suzuku, Benjasado, Adisidema. So with that you have made gone round the mandala deities 3 times, and now you go out of the eastern door and imagine making 3 prostrations to the deities. Please say Om Namatehum, touch your crown, Namamehum, throat, Namanamahum Swaha, touch your heart. Please repeat this. All the Tathagatas, please bless me. Great compassionate one, please descend into me. Please descend into me. O great compassionate one, please descend into me. So this is asking to shower the wisdom beings into you. So from the heart of the Guru deity, rays of light go out and invoke the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, whose blessings come in the form of Avalokiteshvara, his mantra, and the symbols and seed syllable of Avalokiteshvara, and dissolve into you. So the free syllable is the seed syllable of Avalokiteshvara, which is the essence or the nature of his non-dual mind. So this is stabilizing the blessings of Avalokiteshvara, his mantra, and the said syllable and symbols that have resolved into you. Next, the disciples threw flour in the mandala to check which lineage of the deities you belong to, of the 5 Buddha families. So the Korean abbot will represent everyone. And as he throws his flower in the mandala, imagine you also are throwing the flower in the mandala. So in the center is Avalokiteshvara, belongs to Amitabha, and then in the east is blue Akshobhya, and in the north, green Amalkasiddhi, in the west, white Vairochana, and in the south, yellow Ratnasambhava. Please say this: Om Partisa Benzaho, throw the flower. Imagine you have thrown your garland of flower in the mandala.
This one. Okay.
So it fell on the east, which is Akshobhya lineage. So your secret name is Akshobhya Vajra. Akshobhya Vajra from this initiation. So we we skipped this part of looking up into space to see, check what colors appear to our eyes. But it doesn't matter. So in Ladakh, where I was giving this initiation, someone was actually at the point of looking up into space. When I asked them to look up in space, one Geshe was actually looking at my face. Imagine a home, just at your heart, Ram at your forehead, and Om on your eyes, blaze with light. Please remove the blindfold. Vajrasattva, you have endeavors to open our eyes. And so, having removed these blindfolds, imagine that you are now able to see all the deities and the whole of mandala. And the whole of the mandala and the deities are, the rest of the deities are the manifestation of the wisdom of the central deity of Avalokiteshvara. So next we are going to do the initiation or empowerment. Here there are two initiations, the water initiation and the crown initiation. Because the main practice in this tantra are twofold, the yoga with sign and yoga without sign. And so so for developing concentration in this tantra, you do the deity of fire and deity of sound, and then the deity of bestowing, which bestows liberation at the end of the sound. And so before that, we go through the practice of the two yogas. So because in the resultant state of Buddhahood, there are the two Buddha bodies, the form body and the Dharmakaya. And so this yoga with signs is to do the practices which are similar to that the form body, and then similar in aspect to the form body, and then the yoga without signs has to do with the practices which resemble that of the Dharmakaya in aspect. Therefore, we have these two. We make mandala offering in request for the initiation. Please repeat this. So you have been imagining yourself as Avalokiteshvara. And then this water in the vase will be transformed into the deity, and then dissolved back into the deity, and then you'll be given the water initiation. So the Vajramasa invites empowerment deities for the benefit of the disciples, rays of light from the tree at the heart of the Lama, who is not distinct or different from the great compassionate one. Invite all the conquerors and their retinue who abide in the 10 directions and to bestow the empowerment. Lochana and the consorts appear in the sky above the disciples, singing, dancing, playing music, and holding parasols and victory banners over them. A rain of flowers and saffron descend with a slight movement of the hands, the nectar of white bodhicitta from the vase, which bestow the empowerment. Rupa Vajra, etc., sing auspicious songs, wrathful deities abiding in the intermediate directions and dispel obstructions. Think that you have received empowerment by just tasting this leaves a very special imprint for purifying the negativities of your body, speech, and mind. So with this, you are also adorned with the crown. With the 5 Buddha families. So for this initiation of the water initiation is for attaining the Dhammakaya, and next initiation is the initiation of the crown initiation, which is for the purpose of realizing this the form body. Repeat this, Namgyatu. Just as the Bodhi Vajra presented great offerings to the Buddha, so that I may be free today, grant me the space Vajra. And so this crown is generated into the deity. So as this crown is touched on your crown, it leaves a very special imprint for you to attain Buddha's form body. Next is giving the mantra, oral transmission. We'll do the short mantra perhaps. The master is in the form of Chendrasik, Avalokiteshvara, with 1,000 hands and 11 heads and 1,000 eyes. At his heart is the 3-syllable, and around that is Om Mani Padme Hum, the 6-syllable mantra. And at the center is 3, which is marked with the Hum syllable. And as you repeat this mantra after me, imagine that from the Lama deity Avalokiteshvara, this chain of mantra comes out of his mouth and from his heart up, moves up and comes from his mouth and enters your mouth and placed at your heart. Please repeat Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. So with the first one, the mantra is placed at your heart. With the second, the master's mantra, please recite the mantra. Please repeat this. May this precious sublime bodhicitta arise, and where it has not arisen, where it has arisen, may it not decline but increase evermore. May this precious view of emptiness arise in those who have not yet, who do not have it yet. May it, in those who have it, may it not decline but increase evermore. So the next is the concluding stabilizing water empowerment and so forth. And then the subsequent permission. You're given a wheel, a conch, and then a text. And then the 7 royal emblems. So with this, so the 2 initiations of water and the crown initiation are the initiations of the Vajra disciples to leave imprints for Dhammakaya and Rupakaya. The more you become disciplined, and you should also serve others in the best way you can to help others. As in the last 3 days, we went through the precious garland of Master Nagarjuna. So you received teaching on the text, and then today you have received initiation of Avalokiteshvara, who is the patron deity of the land of snows. You have received a complete initiation, full-fledged initiation of Avalokiteshvara, together with the permission initiation. So this Dharma discourse for people from different Buddhist countries in Southeast Asia is now completed. And so my responsibility to teach you, and your responsibility is to practice. So I have done my job. Now you are left with what you need to do. So we'll have a break here, a short. So while the sponsors of this teaching are going to do the long life puja for me, I will perform the concluding rituals. So those who have come from the Asian, Southeast Asian region, After the break, we'll have a photo session if we have time.
Page 22. We will recite the prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama together. Om Swasti, to the assembly of most high teachers, both present and past, the miraculous sense of the body, speech, and mind. Innumerable Buddhas, manifesting in accord with aspirants' spiritual capacities, the wish-granting jewel, the source of all virtue and goodness, to you we offer our prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 aeons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of all meditational deities, manifesting as countless mandalas and divinities, the magical clouds of immaculate transcendent wisdom, reaching to the furthest expanse of the space of ultimate reality. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 aeons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To all the victorious Buddhas of the 3 times, endowed with 10 powers and who are even masters of the gods, and whose attributes of perfection are the source of all compassionate deeds, benefiting the vast ocean-like realm of sentient beings, to you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 aeons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of sacred doctrine, embodied in the 3 vehicles, supremely serene, a jewel treasure of enlightenment, stainless, unchanging, eternally good, and the glory of all virtues, which actually liberates beings from the sufferings of the 3 worlds. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 aeons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To all members of the enlightening noble spiritual community, who never stray from the thoroughly liberating adamantine city, who possess the wisdom eye that directly sees the profound truth, and the highest valor to destroy all machinations of cyclic existence, to you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 aeons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of heroes and dakinis, heavenly beings of the 3 worlds, who appear in the highest paradises and the sacred places, and in the cremation grounds, and who, through creative play in the 100-fold experience of bliss and happiness, support practitioner in their meditation on the excellent path. To you, the Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snow, live forever for aeons. Pour on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance.
To the ocean of protectors endowed with eyes of transcendent wisdom, the powerful guardians and upholders of the teaching, who wear inseparably on their metal locks the knot symbolizing their pledge to the Vajra holder, to you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. Thus, to this segregation of excellent, undeceiving refuge, we pray that by the power of this prayer, expressed from a heart filled with fervent devotion and humility, may the body, speech, and mind of the sole protector of the land of snows, the Supreme Ngawang Lobsang Tenzin Gyatso, be indestructible, unfluctuating, and unceasing. May he live for 100 eons, seated on a diamond throne, transcending decay and destruction. You are the jewel heart embodying all compassionate, beneficial deeds. O most courageous one, you carry on your shoulders the burden of all the Buddhas of the infinite realms. May all your noble aspirations be fulfilled as intended. By virtue of this practices, may the heaven doors of the fortunate era open eternally as a source of relief and respite for all beings, and may all the auspicious signs reach the apex of existence and release. As the sacred teachings flourish through all times in all realms, may the nectar stream of the blessings of the lotus holder always enter our hearts and nourish them with strength. May we please you with offerings of dedicated practice. May we reach beyond the shores of perfect compassionate deeds. Through the blessings of the wondrous Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by the infallible truth of the laws of dependent origination, and by the purity of fervent aspirations, may the aims of my prayers be fulfilled without hindrance. Om Swasti, to the assembly of the most kind teachers, both present. Finish reading.
Okay, thank you. The miraculous dance of the body, speech, and mind of innumerable Buddhas, manifesting in accord with aspirants' spiritual capacities, the wish-granting jewel, the source of all virtue and goodness. To you we offer our prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of all meditational deities, manifesting as countless mandalas and divinities, the magical clouds of immaculate transcendent wisdom, reaching to the farthest expanse of the space of ultimate reality. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To all the victorious Buddhas of the 3 times, endowed with 10 powers, and who are even masters of the gods, and whose attributes of perfections are the source of all compassionate deeds, benefiting the vast ocean-like realm of sentient beings, to you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of sacred doctrine embodied in the 3 vehicles, supreme, serene, a jewel treasure of enlightenment, stainless, unchanging, eternally good, and the glory of all virtues, which actually liberates beings from the sufferings of the 3 worlds. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To all the members of the Enlightenment Noble Spiritual Community, who never stray from the thoroughly liberating Adamantine city, who possess the wisdom eye that directly sees the profound truth, and the highest valor to destroy all machinations of cyclic existence, to you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the assembly of heroes and dakinis, heavenly beings of the 3 worlds, who appear in the highest paradises and in the cremation grounds, and who through creative play in the 100-fold experiences of bliss and emptiness support practitioners in their meditation on their excellent path. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. To the ocean of protectors endowed with eyes of transcendent wisdom, the powerful guardians and upholders of the teachings, who wear inseparable on their matted locks the knot symbolizing their pledge to the Vajra holder. To you we offer prayers with fervent devotion, that Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snows, live for 100 eons. Shower on him your blessings, so that his aspirations are fulfilled without hindrance. Thus, to this congregation of excellent, undeceiving refuge, we pray that by the power of this prayer, expressed by a heart with fervent devotion and humility, may the body, speech, and mind of the sole protector of the land of snows, the supreme Nawa Bhagavan Lobsam Tenzin Gyatso be indestructible, unfluctuating, and unceasing. May he live for 100 eons, seated on a diamond throne, transcending decay and destruction. You are the jewel heart embodying all compassionate, beneficial deeds, O most courageous one. You carry on your shoulders the burdens of all the Buddhas of the infinite realms. May all your noble aspirations be fulfilled as intended. By virtue of this, may the heavenly doors of the fortunate era open eternally as a source of relief and respite for all beings, and may the auspicious signs reach the apex of existence and its release, as the sacred teachings flourish through all times and in all realms. May the nectar stream of the blessings of the lotus holder always enters our heart and nourish them with strength. May we please you with offerings of dedicated practice, and may we reach beyond the shores of perfect compassionate deeds through the of one Buddha. By the infallible truths of the laws of dependent origination, and by the purity of our fervent aspirations, may the aims of my prayer be fulfilled without hindrance. Thank you.